Well, greetings, vacuum enthusiasts, and welcome to a video that you haven't seen in a while, one that uses a spreadsheet. So this is going to be a complete analysis, long, boring spreadsheet analysis of my entire whole house carpet cleaning results. So I have 46 data points that I want to go over, and I want to try to make this as short as possible. So you should be seeing what's on my screen right now, the whole house carpet cleaning weighed results. And if you're new to my channel, what this means is I've actually gone through and I've vacuumed my medium pile carpet in a very consistent manner. And you can see that particular manner in my playlist for the whole house carpet cleaning. And you can see that over and over and over again. And you see primarily pretty much one forward and rearward stroke, except sometimes where I have to cross over or go in a corner or something like that. So this will represent probably how the typical person normally vacuums their home that wants to, say, get something done, right? Fairly quickly. They don't necessarily want to rush, but they don't have time to go over the same spot 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 times. So that's what that really represents. And I've standardized the results down to 1,000 square feet. That means that if I've gone and, say, vacuumed underneath everything I possibly can, beds, dressers, so on and so forth, that would represent 1,200 square feet. And a little bit less than that comes down to about 1,100 square feet. So I have what's known as normalized all those results to 1,000 square feet by reducing them to the 1,000 square foot number. So 46 data points. Away we go. Now I have arranged these in the order of worst pickup to best pickup. So we're going to start out with the worst pickup. And again, this is for medium pile flow-through carpet. And this carpet was installed at the end of 2002, and we moved into the house, we're the first owners, at the end of 2003. So you have almost a couple of decades of wear and tear on this carpet. It's very clean. Some spots are worn more than others, but it's still in fairly usable shape. So here we go. Incidentally, the average is 8.49. That's grams, that's not ounces, that's grams per 1,000 square feet. And the average age of all my machines is 2004. So I have quite a wide range of machines. All right, so 3.30 grams pickup from a DC35 stick vac. Now it's in LP mode. Why did I run it in low power mode instead of high power mode? Well, because of recharging time. And of course, it's bagless. The V7 motor head, a little bit of an improvement. Soft helix brush roll, still in low power mode because that's just what I have to use to avoid recharging multiple times. The DC14 Dyson, definite jump up, a little over 5 grams, 5.04 grams. It has a stiff chevron type of brush roll, bagless. Let's move up to the first canister, my Electrolux Olympia 1, and it has a, I did replace the brush roll a few years ago, doesn't really hardly have that much wear and tear on it. It is an original type of brush roll, and it's 5.34. It is a very, very gentle brush roll. My mother bought this thing, we had an in-home demonstration back in 1980, and she wanted something that could clean but that wouldn't harm her very expensive Oriental rugs. And for sure, it doesn't have maximum agitation at all. Very, very gentle. So the result is it doesn't pick up all that much. Change the brush roll if you could, and it would, of course, pick up more. The Hoover C1125, that's a commercial machine I had from my church. It's bagless. It's kind of a oddball shakeout system that's there, and you can see that in the video. We're up to 5.91 grams, so we're rising. But you see how we are starting out with a lot of bagless machines? So moving on to the LG compressor. A lot of agitation with this particular machine. Stiff, dense helix. But it tends to tear out more carpet and not get the dirt that you want more than, say, leaving the carpet alone and trying to grab, say, more fine dust. And I should also mention that for my house, we pretty much have no sand. There's hardly anything that's sandy gritty at all. It's fine dust. It is carpet fibers, some dust bunnies, and it's a little bit of short hair from a short-haired boxer dog we have named Rosie. Sometimes her hair can get a little oily and sticky. Got to give her a bath like once a month. So that's the debris that we have. Sand is not really involved in that. Okay, moving on to the Shark NV650W. This is a machine that Thomas Rechtenwald brought up for testing. Brush roll is a chevron style. Obviously, it's bagless. Still kind of a low pickup, 6.27, but you see we are rising. The Kirby Dual Sanitronic 80. This is the oldest machine in my collection. It has a very gentle but agitation weak brush roll with the 2-row. Now I know you can put another brush roll on there and it might change it, but I only had a chance to do the 2-row brush roll for the whole house cleaning anyway. So we're rising up to 6.30. So I know that older machines, from like say the 50s and 60s from Kirby could do a better job overall if their agitation levels were increased. But in order for that to happen, you'd have to put in a different brush roll. So the Mila Jazz, that's that wonderful yellow upright. It was donated to the lab a while back. We're now coming up to 6.37. It has a soft chevron brush roll. It spins very quickly, but it's not very harsh at all. It is not very aggressive. Hence, unfortunately, the pickup just isn't really all that much. So here comes another canister, the Bosch Formula Electro Duo HEPA. That did 6.39 grams. The brush roll has long, soft chevron bristles, and it has the EBK 280 power nozzle. So here is the first entry of 2 for the Electrolux Marquee, and it's a hot-rodded Electrolux. It doesn't have the 1,000-watt normal motor you'd have in it. It has more like a 1,400-watt motor in there, 12-amper. And with the very old original brush roll, it did 6.48 grams. The Dyson DC-25, another bagless machine, did actually pretty well considering, we're on line number 14, and here comes a Dyson DC-25. It's not all the way at the bottom. 6.51 grams. It has a soft, sparse helix brush roll. The Hoover Rewind, 6.77 grams. It's kind of interesting that, here's a much newer Hoover, and it does a little bit better than the DC-25, and the DC-25 obviously is an older model, but this newer Hoover that's obviously would have been much cheaper than the DC-25 picks up pretty much about the same. It has a soft, this one here has a worn helix. It had some use on it, and obviously it's bagless. Moving on to an older Hoover canister that I have, the Turbo Power 5000. Now I got this machine really beat up, and I put way too much money into it to keep it going. One thing I did not replace was the brush roll. The brush roll definitely I know is worn to some degree, but it still has very stiff bristles in a helix format, and that did 6.78 grams. My Shark NV22 that I just replaced the bearings for the brush roll, that one doing 6.80, and that has a stiff, dense helix. Of course, it's obviously a bagless machine. I think this is the first Shark that was ever offered, or at least at Walmart. So this old vacuum soldier, so to speak, is still somewhat holding its own, even after all these years. I've not replaced the brush roll. Okay, so here is part 2. Here is the second entry for the 12 amp. Let's see, where was the initial one here? Right here. So looking for. It's like they're closer together than what I thought. So Thomas wanted me, after seeing the 6.48 gram pickup, went, hey, you know what? I can put a new brush roll in there. So he sent one to me. And not only is it a new brush roll, but also it's a new style of brush roll as well. It's an updated version. And you can see the video with that. We only moved, though, from 6.48 to 6.97. And I had a chance to actually check this number a couple of times. In fact, for some of these results, a few of these machines I checked up to 5 times, and some of the machines I checked 3 times, and a lot of the machines I checked more than once. So I've rechecked things that appear to be maybe a little out of line, a little too high, a little too low, or I wasn't too sure what it was supposed to do. So I was like, I better do this again. So 6.97, small improvement, not much. Hoover Wind Tunnel Max. I think it's kind of a handsome looking machine, has a nice color scheme, and it comes into its own here. Now, it is harsh. So you do have to remember that sometimes just higher pickup does not mean better pickup. It just means more carpet damage. It's ripping those fibers out, and you may or may not want that level of agitation. So just because a number's higher doesn't necessarily mean it's better. So it's got a stiff, dense helix and simplicity symmetry. Notice it has the same pickup as the Wind Tunnel Max. Now I'm sure the quality of pickup is probably different, although the symmetry was one of the first machines that I identified as a carpet shredder because it has very, very stiff bristles in this stiff, dense helix format. So maybe the ratios of, say, fiber to fine dust might be the same for these two machines. But I thought that was interesting that once I leveled the playing field to down to 1,000 square feet, the Wind Tunnel Max and the Symmetry, same pickup on my carpet with my dirt. Moving on to the Dyson DC65. So this is, relatively speaking, getting near chart-topping performance for an original bagless machine. So 7.47 grams, it's again a stiff helix. And now the 2008 Power Force, this is an older machine that Thomas brought to me. And he was hoping for something better. We got 7.53, so it's a little less than average, but it wasn't, I guess, completely terrible. It has a chevron, a combination like a Shelix, chevron helix brush roll design. See, I'm trying to do this as fast as possible, so it's not 30 minutes long. Okay, canister Mila Callisto S5281, 7.82 grams. It has a stiff, dense chevron brush roll in the SEB 228 power nozzle. The Auric XL 2800. So this is a old design, classic setup. 7.89 grams, soft, dense chevron. This thing has bristles for 5 brush rolls. It has so many bristles. It's bristles all over the place. They're very soft, though. It still has fairly good pickup for something in the low 50 CFM range. And of course, it's fairly easy to push. Okay, the 2013 Bissell Power Force Compact. So this is the cheapest machine that I have in my arsenal that I've tested. I've heard people tell me that on sale they've grabbed this machine for as low as a $20 bill. It's pretty incredible. 7.93 grams, but it does it with, oh, look at this, stiff, dense helix. So very, very harsh, and certainly not recommended for bare floors. And the pickup, the total pickup, is fairly high considering the machine's so cheap. Okay, we have a 2013 Hoover Wind Tunnel High Capacity PET. We're getting near the median, the average of all my machines right here. So here's an inexpensive machine, 8.10 grams, and guess what? Stiff, dense helix. So are you noticing a pattern here? Are you seeing what I'm seeing? So here's a classic TriStar CXL, 8.16. Now this is a really old original brush roll. The bristles are very, very soft. I'm sure if maybe you put a new brush roll in, or you had stiffer bristles, or you had other options or something like that. I've never looked into it. It would certainly pick up more than that because it has a lot of airflow and suction at the power nozzle head. But in its current condition, which is fully refurbished except for the original brush roll, we are at kind of a slightly below average 8.16 grams. But it's an old design, it's an old machine. 2017 Bissell Power Force 1739. That's that inexpensive bagged machine, the one that maybe is around $50 at Walmart. 8.30 grams. So look at this, 8.49 for the average. And this really, really ultra cheap bagged machine, if you want a bagged machine rather than bagless, is about average. And I got a wide variety of machines that I've tested. This is really good performance, people, for, a $50 machine. And it has, are you seeing this? Stiff, dense helix. Kind of a common theme, right? So inexpensive machine, you want good pickup, stiff, dense helix. Riccar 8850. So I know this machine was designed in the 90s. I think my model, based on date codes I've seen, is a little bit newer than that, but it doesn't really matter because it's still somewhat holding its own. Decades old design. The brush roll, I'm guessing, is a number of years old. Maybe it's 15, 20-year-old brush roll. It's old. 8.69 and HEPA bag. Oh, that's a good note to have there. Jeez, I didn't have any other note than to put HEPA bag in there. So obviously, it's a bag machine. 8.69. So all the machines from the 8850 going down, which means better, will be machines that are better than average. So starting with the Riccar 8850, compared to my, all my machines out there, the averages of everything, the Riccar 8850 now starts the list of better than average. So Panasonic UG589, that's that kind of wine-colored Performance Platinum Plus. A lot of names in there. 8.76. It's a Helix brush roll, aluminum. The Kirby G5. So 8.88, but it's not as bad as you think. I chose to use a new soft oblique brush roll because I wanted to see what the soft oblique brush roll would actually do. And it has, less sand and less fine dust pickup, of course, because it has less agitation, but it's also softer. It does not tear out the fibers nearly as much. So if you don't want all that extra agitation, I recommend the soft oblique brush roll. All right, here's another Miele canister, Solaris S514, and that has long, soft chevron bristles. And I was surprised that it really did 9.24 gram pickup, but it's a very small head, and whatever airflow it has, which is kind of a lot for its size, is concentrated into a very small area, and it was able to agitate quite a bit out of the carpet. And I just bet you it did very well for fine dust pickup, and I bet you it minimized the carpet tear out because the bristles are so long and soft. All right, here's a favorite of Thomas Rechtenwald's, the Dirt Devil Classic 9.5 amp from 1994, 9.32. So even a machine that is this old, old style, and also it's old in age. The original brush roll, I believe it was the original brush roll or brush roll type in there. He might have replaced it, put a new one in one of these. Right now, at the moment, I can't remember. So, Thomas, you'll have to let me know in the comment section. Is this the one that you put a new brush roll in, or is this the brush roll that was still there from 1994? Either way, I think it was still the same type of brush roll. Might be wrong with that. But anyway, 9.32. So an old design, an old inexpensive design. It's doing a great job. It's better than average. And by the way, are you noticing that we've moved from bagless systems to bagged systems. So we're leaving the popular bagless systems behind, and we're moving into old, well-known territory of a disposable bag. Isn't that interesting? Now, again, that's for my medium pile carpet. You know, your carpet's probably not like my carpet. So here we go with a fully restored Kirby G3, 9.55. We're getting close to 10 grams in 1,000 square feet. Chevron brush roll. That Chevron brush roll was literally brand new. Hardly any hours on it at all. So you have a like G3456, you get yourself a brand new Chevron brush roll and your machine's in good shape, you can expect better than average results. And you're talking about a machine that initially, right, would have come out in 1990, so that would have been 30 years ago. So a 30-year-old machine still holding its own, especially against typical bagless machines. So now let's go on to a machine that's a little bit older, Heritage 2 Legend. It's really kind of the same machine, a little larger, a little wider brush roll, but it's still the same Chevron design, 9.63 grams. This is essentially the same pickup. So if you have an old Heritage series and you got yourself a new Chevron brush roll in it and your machine's running properly, it's going to perform pretty much just about the same as the G3456 type of machines, but you don't have a tech drive, so it might be harder to push. Fully restored XL21 Auric, 9.65. This machine had surprisingly high airflow. I think it was in like the upper 80s. Brand new brush roll, and it's like a Helix, like a Chevron Helix design, offset as well. And its pickup was overall very good. Dyson DC65. So this Dyson right here is not the same, exactly the same as this DC65, because I use the Ball Animal 2 head brought to me for testing by Thomas Rechtenwald, and that made a noticeable bump, 7.47 to 9.77. The only thing that changed was the brush roll. That's it. So brush rolls can make quite a difference. I suppose I should really stop here just for a second. So for these types of tests, since I've done so much, and since I am a actually formally degreed mathematician, I've taught high school and college, I should say that I've run all these numbers and I put them on all the charts and whatnot and graphs and looked at everything, studied everything, and I would say that these tests, these numbers, should be good within about plus or minus 10%. So in other words, if you had a machine, say, one picked up 10 grams, another one picked up 9 grams, another one picked up 11 grams, that's pretty close to being the same. Some machines might be a little bit tighter than that, but I'm going to overall say guarantee these results or the usefulness of these results to about plus or minus 10%. So in other words, don't look at something like the XL21 at 9.65 and the DC65 with the Ball Animal 2 head at 9.77 and go, I should get a DC65 and put a Ball Animal 2 head on it. You're hardly going to notice any difference between these two machines. Those numbers are too close. So moving on to G4, here's the Chevron brush roll in that, just like the G3, and it's doing pretty well at 10.22, very close to the G3 example, because these machines are very close to being the same. I think my G4 might have a tiny bit more airflow, but those numbers are so close. Essentially, it's margin of error in the tests. So no big difference there. Same brush rolls. Okay, here is my last canister. This is my best canister. And it's not my canister anymore. I gave it to Thomas Rechtenwald. It's that red Bosch Premium Electro Duo XXL. What makes this canister better than the other canisters is not superior airflow or suction. It's because of this EBK 340 power nozzle. That's a gangbuster power nozzle with lots of agitation. If you want lots of agitation, I highly recommend the EBK 340 power nozzle. There might even be other power nozzles with more agitation in there, but you know, you pay your money and you take your risk on how much agitation you really want. And for a canister, this did the best in my 46 tests. 10.3 grams, really fantastic. Did an excellent job. And again, it's because of that EBK 340 power nozzle. Okay, so that's it for the canisters. Now, literally, it's going to be all uprights. So we have another favorite of Thomas Rechtenwald's, the Dirt Devil Featherlight, and that model number in there, 10.51, and it is a soft, dense helix. Let's see, moving on to the G6. Now, take a look at, say, here's, you know, a G5 up here, 8.88 soft oblique. G6, 10.64 stiff oblique. So that's Kirby's best brush roll. It's the highest agitation. It is not particularly harsh, but if you want something that's less harsh, you can obviously choose other variety of brush rolls that Kirby makes. So just switching out the brush roll from a soft oblique to a stiff oblique makes a statistically significant bump, 8.88 to 10.64. And that's all you got to do. You want a nice little bump there, and you have a G3, 4, 5, 6, you know, whatever is using a chevron brush roll, and you want higher agitation, more pickup, go ahead and put a stiff oblique in there, and off you go. So here is the Diamond Edition. You notice the G6 and the Diamond Edition are pretty much essentially the same. So my G6 I recently completely restored. Of course, the Diamond Edition I completely restored a while back. And I was able to get the G6 and the Diamond Edition this close with CFM. I was a little surprised I was able to get it that close with CFM, but I have several upgrades with the G6, including transmission gears, a microfiber bag. I've not changed the fill tube or anything like that. And, you know, they both used stiff oblique brush rolls, although I think the Diamond Editions is a little more worn. That might not necessarily be true. The G6 brush roll is the one I got years ago. It's the one that was in it when I got it years ago, and I think it might be a good 10 years old as well. It definitely is somewhat worn. But these two now are basically the same performance. So that's kind of cool to note. Now, this is neat. The old 1970s golden tone Hoover U4007. Tremendous pickup. Now, a couple of things I did to it. Here's a couple of upgrades I did. I do have the original 2-row brush roll with the metal beater bars. That's not this brush roll I was using. I used the commercial brush roll, still all metal, but it's 4 rows of bristles. And that increased the agitation for my type of dirt on my type of carpet so much higher that with a HEPA bag, so I can actually recover all of it, I'm not using any kind of a shakeout bag or whatnot. This has literally, well, Kirby level performance. So if you take a look at the rug plate for that U4007, it is fairly small, and what airflow it has is very concentrated. And with that 4-row brush roll, wow, fantastic results. Really, really great. Huge improvement over the standard 2-row brush roll. So now let's move on to the Centria 1, 11.64. You can see we are now way above the average of 8.49. So here's a Centria 1, 11.64, almost 12, a stiff oblique brush roll again. Here is another great ringer. So the Super Chinese Cheapy, I think when I retested this after I cleaned everything up and whatnot, 91 nozzle CFM, and it was over like 40 inches of suction. So tremendous for a really inexpensive upright with a nice wooden brush roll that is a stiff, dense helix. Gee, what, you following me here? So stiff, dense helix, and guess what? Tremendous pickup. But we also know that this Tempo wide path has a harsher brush roll in it. The sand pickup is notably higher. It's not ridiculously higher, it's notably higher. So if I were to go and tear the bag apart and compare it to, like, say, what the Centria 1 picked up, the Centria 1 is going to pick up a lot more fine dust and less carpet. And the Tempo, the reason why it has this nice 13.35 gram pickup is because there's going to be a lot of carpet fibers in there. So it's just, it's harsh. It's harsher than the Kirby's. So let's see, Royal Pro Series. Really, really high CFM, and relatively speaking, high suction for a direct air machine. It's definitely toward the top of the heap, medium stiff chevron. Now, why didn't the Royal Pro Series win? It's because the machine was designed for its nozzle to ride right level with the top of the carpet. So the bristles do their best to try to get down into the pile, but the bristles would either need to be longer, or the power nozzle height would actually have to be lower, but you can't force it to run lower in the carpet because everything just stops. So that's really what happens with the Royal Pro Series. So here we go now. We're finally there. We're at the end. Everybody can wake up now. So the two best machines for medium pile flow through carpet, as measured picking up fine dust, carpet fibers, and a little bit of dog hair. No sand. So, gee, what a surprise. Essentially, they're in the same category of measurement, my Avalier and Centria 2. So I went and remeasured my Centria 2 after I did a full refurb on it, and I got 151 CFM, and the Avalier, doesn't make any difference how I measure it, it's 150. So it's the same CFM. So the Avalier, when I did this measurement, I was using a worn stiff oblique brush roll. I kind of more mean to say that the brush roll had a few chunks out of it, out of the wood, that is. The bristles were all there. I think they certainly had some wear on them. The brush roll was a little abused. So I bet if I put a brand new brush roll in there, which I have done, by the way, because this worn stiff oblique brush roll is now in my G5. I've retired the soft brush roll, and I've now put in this worn stiff oblique that has the chunks out of the wood. 15.58, and the King, essentially, these two are going to be the same. Another stiff oblique brush roll, obviously. It is a number of years old. There's no damage to it, though, but it's a number of years old, is the Centria 2. But in either case, these two with the same brush roll, they're exactly the same machine. The only difference is just the colors. So in the end, here's the average at 8.49. These two Kirbys right here, almost, but not quite, double that. They're almost double the average. So, whew, I'm just about out of breath. I'm doing this literally off the top of my head. Does it show? And I don't write anything down, so I might have rambled on a little bit. In any case, I hope you got something out of this. So if you didn't want to bother to watch, hundreds of videos to, glean something from all this information, I now have this fairly compacted into a short, and I use that term loosely, spreadsheet video. So, hey, thanks for watching, and happy vacuuming.